You know that whole American dream of a starter home? That first, modest house you can actually afford? Yeah, for most of us, that feels like a total fantasy these days. But what if I told you that in some corners of the country, it's not only alive, but it's actually thriving? We're going to get into the complicated and pretty brutally honest story of how the starter home is making a comeback and why it might not matter for most of us.
I'm sure you've seen the headlines, right? Cities are practically giving away land, selling lots for just $1. It sounds almost too good to be true, like a silver bullet, a cheat code to fix the entire housing affordability crisis. But come on, is it really that simple? Can a single dollar truly be the answer? Okay, let's just get right into it, because the answer is fascinating. Yes, this program absolutely works. It is creating real, affordable homes for real people, like right now. But, and this is a huge but, there's a massive catch, a geographic and political one, that keeps this solution locked away from like 95% of the country. So let's start with the yes part of the answer. To see how this miracle is even happening, we have to look at a very specific part of America, the Rust Belt, where this unique set of circumstances has basically hit the rewind button on housing prices.
Get a load of this number, $179,000. And that's not for some fixer-upper from the 1920s. Nope, that's the price for a brand new 3-bedroom home in Youngstown, Ohio, built this year. In most major cities, that number wouldn't even get you a down payment. So how on earth is that possible? And here you go. This is the secret sauce. The land for that new house, it cost the builder just $1. See, when you take the most expensive part of building a new house, the land itself, and you make it basically free, the math for an affordable home suddenly starts to make a whole lot of sense. So what's going on in places like Youngstown, Detroit, and Cleveland? It's like they've brought back this old formula. Let's call it the 1955 equation. It's got 3 parts. First up, you've got dirt cheap land, usually from these things called land banks that are sitting on thousands of vacant lots. Second, these cities have older, simpler zoning codes that let you build smaller, more modest homes without a giant legal battle. And finally, you have city halls that are desperate for growth and will do anything, waive fees, fast-track permits, just to get new families building and paying taxes again.
Okay, now for the no. As incredible as this Rust Belt formula is, it comes with a huge, huge catch. This is not some magic wand you can just wave over every city. There are some really powerful reasons why this is a very localized miracle. And this chart really puts things in perspective. The cities where this land bank magic is happening, they're home to only about 4% of the US population. For the other 96% of us, the housing reality is dictated by a completely different and way more expensive set of rules.
Right, so we gotta ask why this is so contained. Well, here are the 3 brutal realities. First off, a lot of these cities are still shrinking. The land and houses are cheap because, frankly, demand is low. Which leads to the second point. None of the hot job markets, the Austins, the Denvers, the Nashvilles, where everybody wants to live, none of them have this kind of cheap land available. And third, there's a very different and very powerful force at play in all those growing cities.
And that brings us to the real roadblock here. The reason the starter home is pretty much illegal in most of America. We need to talk about what's called the NIMBY wall. Now, for anyone who's not familiar with the term, NIMBY is an acronym. It stands for Not in My Backyard. And it's all about residents who say, sure, build more housing, just not here, not in my neighborhood.
You hear this all the time at those packed city council meetings. Now look, the reasons they give often sound legit. Worries about traffic, crowded schools, you know the drill. But the result is that they end up blocking everything from duplexes to small apartment buildings, precisely the kind of housing that could actually be affordable.
And this right here, this shows you what that opposition does to the numbers. I mean, forget about building a $179,000 house. You can't even start when the dirt itself costs $500,000 or more. In the places where the jobs are growing, the cost of land makes a true starter home mathematically impossible before a single nail even gets hammered.
And what happens is this creates this vicious cycle. Let me walk you through it. So first, residents block new housing. Then, with not enough homes to go around, prices for the existing ones just explode, which means the very homeowners who blocked the project get richer. And what do you think they do? They fight even harder to stop the next project to protect their investment. It's a feedback loop that just chokes off supply and locks everybody else out.
So when you step back, you see we're living in 2 completely different Americas when it comes to housing. The final verdict isn't about whether we know how to build affordable homes, it's about whether we're actually allowed to.
This table really lays it all out, side by side. On one side, you've got the Rust Belt, where starter homes are being reborn on lots that cost next to nothing. The city is literally begging you to build, and the zoning lets you put up a modest 1,000-square-foot house. Then you look at the other side, the growing NIMBY zones, where starter homes are basically illegal. The lots cost a fortune, the neighbors will sue you to stop, and the rules demand huge, expensive houses. In one America, the 1955 dream is alive. In the other, it's been banned.
And that's really the bottom line here. This whole Rust Belt experiment proves one thing for sure. We still know how to build affordable houses. The skills, the materials, the blueprints, they all still work. The problem is that in most of the country, the starter home is being held hostage by policies and local opposition that have made it impossible to build.
Which all leads to this one really big, fundamental question. When you have a conflict between the needs of a growing city and the desires of its current residents, who should get the final say? And honestly, how we answer that question is going to decide if the starter home ever makes a real comeback for the other 96% of us.